Thanks for joining me again for another Pixie Talks review vlog. Pixie Talks, reviews and vlogs at Pixie Talks. So guess what terrible stain on the face of film has just hit theaters? That's right! The Hobbit! Battle of Five Armies. Yes, I'm bitter. Anyways, I will of course have to review that. But I also have the time-honored tradition of also reviewing the animated Tolkien films when these movies come out. So I have to review that too. Five Armies I will review first thing in the new year, but for now at least, sit back and enjoy The Return of the King.
Frodo of the Nine Fingers and the Ring of Doom.
I'm really torn about this movie, you guys. On the one hand, it's known to be terrible, and I can certainly see why. But on the other hand, there's lots of things about it that I actually really like. The movie follows after the Lord of the Rings animated film from 2 years prior. That movie was by Ralph Bakshi, but he never got around to actually completing the story since his movie ended right after the Battle of Helm's Deep. So when Rankin and Bass decided to try their hand at the Lord of the Rings, they picked up fairly close to where Bakshi had left off, starting the story with Frodo's capture at Cirith Ungol. This does mean somewhere between the two films we missed out on Shelob, which is really a shame, but there you have it. First of all, there's lots I like here. Hearing the dulcet tones of John Huston and Orson Bean feels a lot like coming home after watching the Lord of the Rings movie, which didn't feature any of the same actors as The Hobbit. But not all of the voice acting is all that great here, and Pippin and Samwise particularly stick out as, not stellar. There are two big issues with this film that make it kind of a slog to get through. Firstly is the music. There is way too much music. It's practically a musical with how often it breaks for an interlude featuring a montage of either flashbacks or wishful imaginings. These sequences add nothing to the film and make it feel slow, drawn out, and boring. But here's where I'm torn because I actually really love the music itself in this. It's all very good and in the same style as The Hobbit. The soundtrack is great, it's just unfortunate how badly they used it here. The second big issue is how very, very badly they tried and failed at making it feel grand, epic, and serious. Rankin Bass fantasy films generally succeed in being intimate stories that focus on character development. For precisely the same reason that their Hobbit is way better than the current Hobbit movies, they failed at delivering the actual grand scope of The Lord of the Rings. For a story of war, action, and strife, this doesn't actually have much in the way of action, and instead they tried to elicit the feeling of seriousness via a large number of dramatic inner monologues, which are firmly in the trying too hard and coming off way more silly than serious territory. It also really doesn't do much to try to explain the plot of the story at all, and instead relies on the viewer being already familiar with the source material, which generally makes the movie feel pretty clunky. All of that said, there are some really neat things about this movie. I adore the artwork and style of Rankin Bass far more than Ralph Bakshi's weird, I don't actually give a crap about what it looks like visually Lord of the Rings. This feels more like magic. This feels more like Middle-earth. And the character designs are much more spot on. Just look at Aragorn! That is a king reclaiming his throne, not this. But the coolest thing of all about this film is the scene with Éowyn. Never mind that Éowyn is never introduced or mentioned before her appearance here. She's awesome. And she totally kicks all the Nazgul butt. She's the single coolest thing about this movie, and I couldn't have pictured her better than this. I even like her better here than in the live-action version. Okay, so this movie isn't great, and is objectively probably even a worse film than Bakshi's Lord of the Rings. But I really enjoy it on certain merits, even if it does bore me to tears on other merits. Really, I can just become so lost in Rankin and Bass's artwork sometimes, as well as Glenn Yarborough's soothing singing voice, that I can forgive a large amount of flaws. The same can't really be said for the new Hobbit films, unfortunately.
Frodo of the Nine Fingers and the Ring of Doom accepted a heavy burden for for the fires to consume.
And that's it for my review of The Return of the King. I hope you enjoyed the review, and as I said, first thing in the new year, I will be taking a look at Battle of Five Armies. Until then, there are a few more Christmas titles to get through, so come back for that. And with that, I'll see you next week. Bye!
The goblins, the elven king, they came to know the power of